evening. I'm the Maven of the Eventide, and welcome back to my vampire library, which is what I call this lair of mine, now that is full, wall to wall, with vampire books. Yes, vampire books sent to me by you. Why now? Because it is spring again. Why does this keep happening every year? And in spring, in the most tragic of Gothic tragedies, happens to be my birthday. Yes. I could not be born in the spookier months. No, I had to be born in the months full of flowers and butterflies and sunshine. But to avoid it all, we stay inside and we read vampire books, of which I have so many more because it is my birthday and people know what I like. I've actually been stockpiling these vampire books. You can't see, but it goes all the way down to the floor since the last video I made, which was shortly after Christmas. So it has been, 5 months now since I talked to you about vampire books. So I have 5 months worth of vampire and other spooky Gothic related books and things to share with you. As always, stacked by size, because if I don't stack them by size, the tower becomes unstable and they topple. So, you know, gotta build a solid foundation. The bigger books on the bottom. The Lights of Prague by Nicole Jarvis. This just came out in 2021. A refreshing historical fantasy about class and the hunger for power. Fantasy fans will gobble up this moody philosophical adventure. In the quiet streets of Prague, all manner of mysterious creatures lurk in the shadows. Unbeknownst to its citizens, their only hope against the tide of predators are the dauntless lamplighters, secret elite monster hunters whose light staves off the darkness each night. Domek Miska leads a life teeming with fraught encounters with the worst kind of evil, bloodthirsty and soulless vampiric creatures. Despite this, Domek finds solace in his moments spent in the company of his friend, the clever and beautiful Lady Ora Fisherova, a widow with secrets of her own. When Domek finds himself stalked by the spirit of the White Lady, a ghost who haunts the Baroque halls of Prague Castle, he stumbles across the sentient essence of a will-o'-the-wisp, captured in a mysterious container. Now, as its bearer, Domek wields its power, but the wisp, known for leading travelers to their deaths, will not be so easily controlled. After discovering a conspiracy amongst the PGVs that could see them unleash terror on the daylight world, Domek finds himself in a race against those who aim to twist alchemical science for their own dangerous gain. I am vaguely more interested in Prague than usual right now because the Interview with the Vampire TV show is currently filming its season 2 in Prague as we speak. It's using Prague as a backdrop for Prague in the 1940s and Eastern Europe in general, but it's also using Prague as a stand-in for 1940s Paris, because I guess they can't film in Paris. So the TV show Interview with the Vampire Season 2 has 3D modeled Paris and is now reproducing in Prague to film their TV show. So maybe if I read this book, I'll learn a bit more about Prague that I can then apply to that TV show when I watch it, because you know I'm going to watch it. Out for Blood by John Peyton Cook. The night spawns a hideous evil even the undead fear. Ooh, what could the undead fear? An avid reader of Dracula and a fan of old Hammer horror films, Chris Calloway has always fantasized about becoming a vampire. Oh, it's a meta book. And the idea of immortality is even more alluring now that he has been diagnosed with a terminal illness. So, when a vampire shows up at his apartment and offers him eternal life as one of the undead, Chris jumps at the opportunity. I mean, who wouldn't? I would do that even without a terminal illness, personally speaking. But unexpected terrors await him in the world of the night. A new enemy, relentless and insatiable, is hunting vampires for his own evil purposes. And unless Chris can stop him, he will face a fate even worse than death. One of the few gay-themed novels of the horror publishing boom of the 80s and 90s, John Peyton Cook's groundbreaking and tremendously entertaining Out for Blood from 1991 returns to print at last in this edition, which includes a new afterword by the author. Oh, cool! So this book is from 1991, but I'd never even heard of it. Very cool. Undiscovered classics, back for us to read. And it's gay, always a plus, in my book. And in this book. The Dracula book of great vampire stories. And at first I was going to say I couldn't tell if this was just an old book or if it was artfully distressed. It's all scratched up and stuff, but I think that's I think that's deliberate. This cover feels very shiny and clean, even though it is an old book. It's from 1977. But the cover is very smooth. I don't think those are actual scratches on the cover. I think it's trying to look that way on purpose. So that's a choice. What supreme vampire story deals with lesbian love as its shocking central theme? What horror-filled chapter did Bram Stoker have to delete from his original Dracula? What extraordinary piece of research unearthed an actual history of a vampire castle? This is not a trivia quiz, though I do know the answer to all those questions. I already know the answer. Rather, it is a quiz with a total terror in each answer. As you will discover, as you are held spellbound by 13, of course it's 13, of the most fiendishly enthralling tales ever to fill the night with foreboding and leave your lights burning until the safety of dawn. Dracula. Oh, it actually gives you the answers to the quiz questions down here. Cute. What are the stories in here besides Carmilla and the lost first chapter, Dracula? Oh, we got the Orla, the sad story of a vampire, Tomb of Sarah, For Blood is Alive. All these like classics. So these are like old school classics. There's a few I haven't heard in here. Four Wooden Stakes, Mrs. Armsworth. The Vampire by Jan Neruda, not to be confused with the other The Vampires that exist. Cool. Reluctant Immortals by Gwendolyn Kist, which even though I have only received this book recently, since the last time I made one of these Vampire Library videos for you, we actually already read it for Vampire Book Club, which you may know is also featured on this channel. It is done live, so it's in the live stream section of this channel. Every month we read a new vampire book and then discuss it live. I speak live on camera with the group chat, answering questions, discussing the book. And we have read and discussed this book already, even though I haven't told you about it yet. So let me tell you now. This is a Dracula Jane Eyre crossover sequel. For fans of Mexican Gothic, from three-time Bram Stoker award-winning author Gwendolyn Kist comes a novel inspired by the untold stories of forgotten women in classic literature. Lucy Westenra, a victim in Bram Stoker's Dracula, a victim, like she was just one of them. And Bertha Mason, Mr. Rochester's attic-bound wife in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. Reluctant Immortals is a horror novel that looks at two men, Mr. Rochester and Dracula, and the two women who survived them, Bertha and Lucy, who are now undead immortals. They are residing in Los Angeles in 1967 when Rochester and Dracula make a shocking return in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco. This is the summer of love. Combining elements of historical and Gothic fiction with a modern perspective in a tale of love and betrayal and coercion, Reluctant Immortals is the lyrical and harrowing journey of two women as they bravely claim their own destiny in a man's world. And what did I think of it? Well, a lot of things. I had a lot of thought about these books, and I'm not going to fill up this video telling you what I thought about it, because I already did that. So, click the link, watch the book club video, and you can see all that I thought about this book. And I am always here for a Gothic classic mashup. When Life Gives You Vampires by Gloria Duke. Single, curvy vampire. So much for the afterlife. 25-year-old Lily Baines is used to waking up hungover, overweight, and underemployed. Waking up with fangs? Not so much. But when a little light necking has more serious consequences than she ever imagined, Lily's determined to get to the bottom of it or die, again, trying. Tristan hadn't meant to turn Lily. It's against vampire law. But now that she's here, they need to team up to save both their hides. They strike an uneasy truce, fending off other vampires, Lily's work rival turned slayer, and her mother's tone-deaf romance and fitness advice, all while Lily faces down her insecurities about the fact that she lives in a diet-obsessed world with a body that will never age, never die, and never change. Falling for her maddeningly gorgeous sire? Easy. Surviving an ancient vampire master determined to see her twice dead? Piece of cake. But can Lily ever truly learn to love the woman she will be forevermore? So a body positivity, fat lady vampire acceptance story. Interesting. I have received many fat vampire books, but they've always been about fat men or boy vampires before. This is the first fat vampire book I got about a lady character, so I'm very curious to see how this is done. From my understanding, this is a body positivity book, unlike the other fat vampire books we got, which were all a bit body shamey and a bit fat phobic, so looking forward to this one being a little bit better in that account. Who hasn't thought every time you consider if I could become a vampire today, would I be happy with this? Or, no, wait, 6 weeks, please, a vampire who's about to turn me into a vampire. I need to, like, get to the gym. You know, it doesn't work that way. You just gotta learn to love you. Women Eating by Claire Coda. Best book of the year in Harper's Bazaar, The New Yorker, and Glamour. What year is the year it was the best book of? What year? 2022. Brand new. Just came out last year. One of the most original vampire novels in ages. Delicious, says the New York Times Book Review. A young mixed-race vampire must find a way to balance her deep-seated desire to live among humans with her incessant hunger in this stunning debut novel from a writer to watch. That is a very small summary. Okay, is there another summary? No. It's just like a million book reviews saying it's awesome, but really not, you know, I bet if it was a hardcover it would have more of a flap insert summary, but, you know, that's vague. Well, let's see what the reviews say. One of the most original vampire novels in ages. It follows Lydia, a British, Japanese, and Malaysian vampire struggling to survive. Coda has given Lydia a host of great vampire qualities, such as excellent night vision and an ability to experience the entire life of a creature by drinking its blood, but it's Coda's exploration of Lydia's inner world, the pain and longing she feels as an outsider that makes Woman Eating such a delicious novel. I mean, that's pretty par for the course for vampire novels and what they're supposed to accomplish. I mean, I guess this one probably accomplishes it well. Okay? But, you know, if you want more of the same, sounds pretty good. Absolutely brilliant. Tragic, funny, eccentric, and so perfectly suited to this particularly weird time. Time, I guess, being a post-COVID world. Claire Coda takes the vampire trope and makes it her own in a way that feels fresh and original. Serious issues of race, disability, misogyny, body image, sexual abuse are handled with subtlety, insight, and lightness of touch. And the novel is ridiculously suspenseful. Oh, I didn't even know it was a suspense novel. That's good to know. I was on the edge of my seat just waiting for Lyd to bite someone, and in the end, I felt utterly and happily bitten. The person she bit was me. What color me intrigued? This is definitely going into the running for Vampire Book Club. I mean, I could say that about absolutely any of these books. They're all in the running, but this one is sort of one of those ones I want to bump up the running. Sounds very cool. The Witch and the Vampire by Francesca Flores. And this one is brand new. This just came out this year, 2023 release. A queer Rapunzel retelling where a witch and a vampire who trust no one but themselves must journey together through a cursed forest with danger at every turn. Ava and Kay used to be best friends until one night 2 years ago when vampires broke through the magical barrier protecting their town, and in the ensuing attack, Kay's mother was killed and Ava was turned into a vampire. Since then, Ava has been trapped in her house. Her mother, Eugenia, needs her. Ava still has her witch powers, and Eugenia must take them to hide that she's a vampire as well. Desperate to escape her confinement and stop her mother's plans to destroy the town, Ava must break out, flee to the forest, and seek help from the vampires who live there. When there is another attack, she sees her opportunity and escapes. Kay, now at the end of her training as a flame witch, is ready to fulfill her duty to kill any vampires that threaten the town, including Ava. On the night that Ava escapes, Kay follows her and convinces her to travel together into the forest, while secretly planning to turn her in. Ava agrees, hoping to rekindle their old friendship and the romantic feelings she started to have for Kay before that terrible night. But with monstrous trees that devour humans whole, vampires who attack from above, and Ava's stepfather tracking her, the woods are full of danger. As they travel deeper into the forest, Kay questions everything she thought she knew. The two are each other's greatest threat, and also their only hope, if they want to make it through the forest unscathed. So, a Romeo and Juliet Rapunzel retelling love story between a vampire and a witch, and based on the cover of them holding hands all beautifully, I'm guessing it sort of has a happy ending. The 12 and the City of Mirrors by Justin Cronin. These are books 2 and 3 in the Passage trilogy, and we have discussed the Passage previously. Yes, I have the Passage here, which I've already told you about. I'm not going to read you the summaries of these books because they might contain spoilers for the first book, but I will remind you what book 1 is about. It happened fast. 32 minutes for one world to die and another to be born. First, the unthinkable. A security breach at a secret U.S. government facility unleashes the monstrous product of a chilling military experiment. Then, the unspeakable. A night of chaos and carnage gives way to sunrise on a nation and ultimately a world forever altered. All that remains for the stunned survivors is a long fight ahead and the future ruled by fear, of darkness, of death, of a fate far worse. As civilization swiftly crumbles into a primal landscape of predators and prey, two people flee in search of sanctuary. FBI agent Brad Wolgast is a good man haunted by what he's done in the line of duty. 6-year-old orphan Amy Harper Belafonte is a refugee from the doomed scientific project that has triggered the apocalypse. Post-apocalyptic vampire stories, and as the story continues in the 12 and the City of Mirrors, we get the whole story. I think it is just a trilogy. I think this is the full trilogy. They made a TV show out of the passage, and now I have the complete set. Thank you. Sun Chasers and Scared Scarlet by Richard Humphreys. Scared Scarlet is the Sun Chasers Cycle 2, but I am told it is a standalone novel that you can read without having read Sun Chasers. Sun Chasers being the name of the vampire creatures in this universe. And these were sent to me by the author. Thank you. And he also included a letter which sort of explained what it was all about. And from what he said, the Sun Chasers are a vampiric creature that are a species, and they have existed apparently since 12,000 BC. And the new book is Scared Scarlet, about that species. So this book takes place in the Roman Empire, about that period of time and the characters during that time, whereas this book is the entire original history of the Sun Chasers. So this one we're dealing with Neolithic people, Paleolithic, I don't know periods. Darkness is born from light. After crossing the vast steppe, passing through the valley was a means to an end for the Broadhorn tribe as they sought new lands beyond. Their shaman says the gods and the mightiest of them, the sun god, has blessed their travels, and they will find better lands on the other side of the mountains. Within the valley stands an altar to the sun god, and at its base a macabre sacrifice. Despite the shaman's desires to leave the altar, one of the tribe destroys the heresy for their benevolent god. But the crime does not go unnoticed by the valley's inhabitants. Devout worshippers of the sun and the blessings it grants them, the Sun Chasers will avenge the attack upon their sacred site. They will see the invaders driven out, but one seeks the resurrection of a powerful evil their holy man swore he would never revive. Tensions arise in the Broadhorn tribe from the actions of the selfish and threat of attack by the Sun Chasers. Cooler and curious heads seek an understanding. While they are two different people, they share the same God. If peace cannot be found, the call to summon the soulless darkness that once turned the soil crimson may be answered. We don't see a lot of vampire books set in that era. I've seen a couple, but it's nice to see another new one. And then continuing on through history, we get to the Roman era, 10 AD, the Roman Empire. Macabre ritualistic massacres, the survivor's impossible tale, a killer from forgotten myth, terror follows the light. After discovering a series of ritualistic massacres, the young vampire Celius and his human slave Petrin are tasked on finding answers to the impossible. The massacre's only survivor, a teenage boy named Trajan, is adamant. The vampire that killed his family moved and camouflaged itself in daylight. Celius and Petrin must travel deeper into the barbaric wilds than any Roman or vampire would dare to go. There, the truth lies in a being blood-blessed by God and whose existence has passed into forgotten myth. I'm wondering if that God is the sun god, or if we're talking the Judeo-Christian God at this point. I mean, Christ hasn't died on the cross yet, so it can't be the Christian God. Or one of the Roman gods. A particular god? Curious. And this book just came out January this year, brand new. Get it while it's hot. One Girl in All the World by Kendare Blake. This is another Buffy the Vampire Slayer universe novel by Kendare Blake, who also wrote In Every Generation, who we talked about recently. And this one was the beginning of a new generation of Slayers. So these books aren't about Buffy herself, but it's in the universe with a new generation of Slayers. And this one was about Willow's daughter, Frankie Rosenberg. And this one seems to be about the same person. High school is hell, especially on a Hellmouth. Frankie Rosenberg is the world's first Slayer witch, but she doesn't have that slay life balance figured out just yet. She's still reeling from the deadly explosion at the annual Slayer retreat, which is, I guess, what happens in this book. And I'm not going to read you anymore because I don't want to spoil this book. Spoilers, there's an explosion. Yeah, so it sounds like this continues Frankie's story directly from this book, so it must be a direct sequel to this book. Cool. I like the note on the back. In every generation, a Slayer is born. One girl in all the world. Sort of. Now, this is a really cool find. It's a copy of Interview with the Vampire, which, you know, I already have a copy of this book. I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a particular fan of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles and Interview with the Vampire, and I may have 6 or 7 copies of this book. But this one is new and pretty. Look, it's shiny. Look how shiny it is. It's hardback. It's kind of got like a cloth fuzzy cover. And this is the Books A Million exclusive edition of Interview with the Vampire, which just came out, I guess, around Christmas time, you know, to hop on the gift-giving train, and right on the tail of the TV show coming out. So definitely sort of like a marketing tie-in. Books A Million exclusive. If you do not have a Books A Million where you live, you are out of luck. You can't find this on Amazon. You can't find this on book resellers. It is nowhere. Maybe when time goes on and it gets older and it's not brand new anymore, you'll be able to find it somewhere. But till then, Books A Million is your only bet. If you don't know what Interview with the Vampire is, I have some videos you can watch that will explain it to you. I'm not going to tell you about it now. We'd be here all night. I would like to be here all night. The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland, another brand new vampire book, just came out in February of this year, so it's only been out a couple months so far. Colette Lesong, I guess like sanguine, like blood, is a lonely artist who heads an elite fine art school for children in upstate New York. Her youthful beauty masks the dark truth of her life. She has endured centuries of turmoil and heartache in the wake of her grandfather's long-ago decision to make her immortal like himself. Now, in 1984, it's a historical novel, Colette finds herself upended by the arrival of a gifted child from a troubled home, the return of a stalking presence from her past, and her own mysteriously growing hunger for blood. I guess it stopped for a while and now it's come back. Combining brilliant prose with breathtaking suspense, Jacqueline Holland's The God of Endings serves as a larger exploration of the human condition in all its complexity, asking us the most fundamental question: is life in this world a gift or a curse? Because, as you know, a vampire is never just a vampire. They always mean something deeper and bigger and greater, and speak about humanity, ironically, through the eyes of the monster. Sweeping and evocative, this novel is a beautiful journey through the centuries of a wholly unique life. It explores the savagery of loss and grief, and the paradoxical fragility of the endurance of love. It raises powerful and thought-provoking questions about motherhood and how to live, and the ending will stay with me for a long time in the best possible way, says Jennifer Saint. As brand new and apparently promoted as this book was, considering it came with like a special letter from the publisher, I haven't heard any hype about this. I'm very intrigued. The Vampire Archives, the most complete volume of vampire tales ever published, with an introduction by Otto Penzler, foreword by Kim Newman, we know him, preface by Neil Gaiman, we know him, including Anne Rice, Stephen King, H.P. Lovecraft, Harlan Ellison, and many, many more. Okay, so I bet this has a lot of stories that also feature in a bunch of other vampire anthologies I have. However, this claims to be the most complete, so I bet it has a lot more that I don't have in other anthologies, right? Right? Oh, it's sorted into stories that are pre-Dracula, so we're talking the oldies and the goodies. True stories. There's only 3 of those. Interesting. Graveyards, castles, churches, and ruins. That's where Anne Rice and Lovecraft fall in, obviously. That's poetic. Oh, we got Goethe and Lord Byron and Keats in here. Hard times for vampires. Classic tales. What's the difference between classic tales and Dracula's guest in there? I guess Bram Stoker era's classic tales, but I haven't heard of a single one of the other ones in there. Very interesting. Psychic vampires. Okay. Something Feels Funny. So comedic vampires. That includes Popsy by Stephen King, which I haven't read, so I don't know how funny it actually is. Oh, and Drink My Red Blood by Richard Matheson, who you know as the author of I Am Legend, which is not funny at all. Love Forever. So I guess these are the romantic vampire stories. I love that they're categorized. I love a good categorizational system. Love it. They Gather, I guess group vampires. Is that a vampire? So these are mysteries, like we got the Sussex Vampire Adventure by Arthur Conan Doyle, which, spoilers, wasn't actually a vampire. So mysteries that you're trying to find out, are they really vampires? Usually, probably not. This is War vampire stories, and Modern Masters. So we got Brian Lumley, Ray Bradbury, Dan Simmons. So it seems like it's mostly oldie goodies, nothing really like fresh or new. Just sort of put together. Not like all public domain things, but not anything brand new. When did this come out? 2009. So maybe they were new back then. Featuring the macabre dens of the immortal, long and supple necklines, blood-curdling screams, vampires, vampires and more vampires, unexpected guests, shadowy figures, and ancient mysteries. All the things you want in a good vampire anthology. This is just kind of a cute collection. I love the way it's put together. Including modern masters of an ancient genre, the most comprehensive bibliography of vampire fiction ever assembled. Oh, that sounds cool. The most comprehensive bibliography of vampire fiction ever assembled. Yes, here it is, the vampire. Oh, it's not numbered, so I don't even know how many things are in here. I'm going to make this a checklist. And I'm going to take this bibliography. Oh, wow, this just goes on for pages. How many pages is this bibliography? Dang! Still going. Heck yeah. Oh, my goodness. Whoa, okay. The Vampire Bibliography, compiled by Daniel Settler, starts on page 919 and goes until page 1029. So we got a 110-page bibliography vampire checklist. Have you read them all yet? You'd have to be immortal to get through all of these. Philadelphia Volume 3, which I received not long ago. Philadelphia Volume 2, and I could have sworn that you sent me Philadelphia Volume 1, but I can't find it anywhere. Did I dream it? Did I imagine it? It is not anywhere, and I keep very specific categories and organizational systems here, so but I have Volume 3 to go with Volume 2 now. Philadelphia, the Vampire Comic by Rodney Barnes. Vampire Queen Abigail Adams in Philadelphia. War, guns, fighting, full color artwork, beautiful. Baby Teeth, this one I haven't heard of. Volume 1 by Donny Cates and Gary Brown. Look at this cute little baby vampire with the baby teeth. Color. It's a little baby being hugged by like a hell demon. So cute. Having a baby when you're 16 can be tough. For Sadie, it'll be hell. Sadie Ritter is 16 years old, 9 months pregnant, and scared out of her sweet little nerdy mind. Having a baby that young is difficult, but with the support of her loving family behind her, everything should be fine. However, her baby Clark just might be the Antichrist, and he's hell-bent on breaking open the barriers between the earthly and demonic planes and unleashing eternal suffering to all humankind. Other than that, though, everything should be fine. So I don't know if this is actually a vampire at all. It sure looks like a vampire on the cover, but he might just be the Antichrist. You know, we'll take what we can get. But he's so cute. On to some children's books. This is the Disney Mickey Mouse retelling of Dracula. Mickey is, of course, Jonathan. Of course, and it came with stickers. I love stickers. I love the art in here. It's like really detailed for a children's Mickey book. It's very like beautiful paintings. So Mickey comes to Dracula's castle. Dracula is a character I've never seen before. He looks kind of like a goofy dog type character. Smaller ears. He's got the Bram Stoker's Dracula giant hairdo. You know, this guy, that kind of hair. Okay, now we're getting into the rest of the story. So Mina is Minnie, and Lucy is Daisy. So Lucy Daisy is getting really obsessed with blood. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. There's a giant chili pepper growing in the yard. I don't know where this is going at all. Looks like Horace, the Horace guy is Van Helsing. You know, that minor character. I can't figure out who Donald and Goofy are supposed to be. One of them is Arthur. I guess Arthur being Donald because he's Daisy's paramour. And then Goofy's, I don't know who Goofy is. Goofy's, if he's Seward or Quincy. He's got to be one with them. He's wearing a top hat, not a cowboy hat, so maybe he's just his own character. So cute. When Jonathan Micker arrives in Pepperlania one gloomy night, he meets a mysterious man named Count Dracula. The Count loves red peppers and makes a very stinky red pepper soup that he uses to hypnotize people. Oh, so it's not blood, it's red pepper soup. Find out what happens when Jonathan Micker and his friends Arthur Duckwood, Minnie Mousy, Daisy Weston Duck meet Count Dracula and eat some of his stinky soup in this fun storybook with over 40 stickers. I don't know if you know this about me, but I love stickers. The Little Golden Book Funko Pop Universal Monsters. So you know what Little Golden Books are, right? But this is of the Funko Pop of Universal Monsters. And I do not have these Funko Pops of Universal Monsters. Well, I have Dracula, but I don't have the other ones, which is important. I don't have the Wolfman, I don't have Frankenstein, I don't have Bride of Frankenstein. What is this story even about? This seems like a cute little Monster Mash story, and they're all Funko Pops. Cute. The Vegetarian Vampire by Kimberly Woodruff. Illustrated by Rachel Schwartz. Oh, it's autographed by the author. Cute little bat story about a vegetarian vampire bat. The Vegetarian Vampire is a story about an adorable bat family that has to escape their home due to a fire. The closest community they could move to was a vampire bat community. What no one knew was that they were fruit bats. Fang has one more problem. He can't resist a farmer's delicious tomatoes, but no one eats Farmer Red's tomatoes without his permission. How long will they be able to hide before someone figures them out? Oh no, the normies have moved into a vampire community. Now we're down to the non-fiction vampire things. I have the True Blood cocktail book and the True Blood cookbook, which you would think I would have had these, 10, 12 years on from when True Blood came out. I don't know. It's been too long. Time has lost all meaning. But the True Blood cookbook eats, drinks, and bites from Bon Ton. So I'm guessing it'll be a lot of Southern food, but also some vampire-themed food. But it also has a lot of just cool art and imagery from the TV show. Really gorgeous pictures. Whether they live to eat, eat to live, or stopped living long ago and now just hunger for the past, the characters of HBO's original series True Blood have a lot to say about food. In a world where everyone's fighting over whose mama's grits and fried okra are the best, and where gumbo and crawfish fritters are the ties that bind, it makes sense that love and lust, comedy and tragedy, death and redemption unfold at the table and over drinks. And with all the drama that goes on, the good people of the parish need some serious comfort food. From the finger-licking good home-cooking straight out of Grand's kitchen to Lafayette's and Terry's specialties at Merlotte's to the dangerous drinkables served up by Eric and his ilk at Fantasia, all the good eats in Bon Ton are here. It's genuine bayou country fare to satisfy any appetite. After all, everyone from a husky werewolf and a plunky fairy to a brooding vampire king has to eat or drink. Very cute. Thank you. And even better, the cocktail book. Be the toast of Bon Ton. 45 recipes for fiendishly good bayou cocktails and finger foods, a True Blood style. Yes. I'm gonna have a vampire party. Ooh, a tequila brujo. Screwed driver. Oh, that's cute. Wiccan brew. Lumiere sparklers. Blood of Lilith. Ooh, that is very thick and chunky looking. Very thick and chunky looking. Huh. Virgin blood. Cute. The Vampire Killers. A horrifying true story of bloodshed and murder. So this is a true crime book. They were teens on the run from an unspeakable crime. I don't know anything about this crime. I don't read a lot of true crime. I know some people are really into it, but I've never really taken a look at it. So I don't know which one this is. There is blood everywhere. Please come as fast as you can. Jennifer Wardroff's desperate plea to the 911 operator. When 18-year-old Jennifer Wendorf returned home one evening, she was witness to the most horrific scene she would ever set eyes upon. Her own parents' brutally bludgeoned bodies. It was later discovered that both Richard and Noma Wendorf each received over 20 ferocious blows to the head. As this atrocious crime came to light, so did many troubling questions. Who, in a quiet Florida town, could harbor such hatred towards the genial couple? Where were the Wendorfs' troubled 15-year-old daughter, Heather? And could this ungodly murder be connected to Heather's friends, a bizarre group of teens who were obsessed with blood drinking and other vampire rituals? Read with fascination as police track down the renegade teens, extract their startling confessions, and watch as best-selling author Clifford Leyendecker uncovers the twisted tale in a true crime case shocking as any fiction, with 8 pages of startling photos. So this came out in 1998. I don't know when the crimes actually took place, if you know which vampire murders these were, because there certainly have been multiple ones. Interesting. True crime vampire. How vampire-y was the crime, actually? Because being bludgeoned to death doesn't sound very vampiric. And the police going, well, their teenage daughter is in a vampire cult where they drink blood. They must be to blame. Makes me wonder if it's just prejudice, or were those kids actually murderers? How to get a date with a vampire and what to do with him once you've got him. Yes, this is the advice book I need. Vampires, please date me? I know this is not how to get a date with a vampire. Clearly it's not working. I have 0 vampire dates right now. But look how 80s this lady is. Can you see her? She is like shoulder plaid blazer, giant feathered hair with the curly bangs. Wow. Why vampires make better boyfriends? Look into my eyes. What he says, what he means. Top 10 ways to cover up those embarrassing hickeys. Why going steady may not be such a good idea. It's like a magazine cover, right? Bonus section. Vampire astrology. Are you his blood type? What is this book? This is adorable. This is from 1992 because of course it is. Ah, vampires. They know how to dress. They know what to say. They're hopelessly romantic, devastatingly sexy, and passionately sincere. Best of all, they know how to make commitment. What every person wants in their relationship. They're everything a girl could want in a boyfriend. And more. You know, not just girls, other people too, please. The trick is getting a date with one. Now, you can learn all the tricks and traps of dating the vampire of your dreams, from spotting him in a crowd of mere mortals to taking the big lunge into a permanent relationship, as well as perfecting your swoon, coping with your different schedules, handling his old girlfriends, introducing him to your parents, putting together the ultimate vampire babe wardrobe, and much more. How to Get a Date with a Vampire is the one guide that shows you how to really sink your teeth into a romantic relationship and live happily ever after. Yes, this is precious. So cute. Vampire horoscope. Well, since it's my birthday, let's see what my vampire horoscope is. I'm a Taurus, the most ungothic of all signs. Though, you know, Taurus are supposed to be like hedonists and stuff and people who like things, and I clearly like things, so maybe I got that part right. But let's see. The Taurus vampire. The bull vamp is a creature of habit. He was a Taurus before he joined the night shift, and he'll keep his sign, thank you very much. He is also one of the more cautious vampires of the zodiac, so don't take it personally if he makes you take at least 3 blood tests and submit to a blind tasting before he'll even consider getting into the clinch with you. Once you have him by the tooth, though, you'll find that he's lethally loyal. His jealousy and possessiveness are legendary, even in a world where possessiveness is king. This all sounds pretty true. Thrifty by nature, you'll often find the Taurus vamp employed as a banker. Only instead of T-bills, he's stocking up on type O, which makes him a blood banker, a wonderful choice for the girl who hates to do her own grocery shopping. Tightwad that he is, he does display largesse in one area, as if you didn't know. He will spend eternities making languorous love to you in the safety of his double combination locked coffin, and he does it so well. He may even convince you that the best things in death are free. This is so 1992. Haunted City, an unauthorized guide to the magical, magnificent New Orleans of Anne Rice by Joy Dickinson. This book has not been authorized or approved by Anne Rice or her publisher. It is just a fan-made, authorized guide to New Orleans as seen through the eyes of someone who loves Anne Rice. So if you're going to New Orleans and you want to, like, get the Anne Rice experience from the advice of a fan who's done it before, this is a good resource, it seems. This came out in 1995, so it is probably extremely dated. As someone who has gone to New Orleans a couple times so far explicitly for Anne Rice fandom purposes, I am intrigued. Take a walk with Lestat, Louis, Claudia, and the Mayfair Witches. New Orleans is one of America's most romantic and mysterious cities. Its steamy, languid climate, its cultural gumbo of Catholicism, voodoo, French, and Creole, its celebrated corruption, cuisine, and cemeteries all combine to make the Crescent City a magical place. New Orleans is also the setting for Anne Rice's celebrated and widely popular novels chronicling the dénouements of vampires and witches. Joy Dickinson provides a guide to all of the New Orleans hotels, grave sites, streets, and places mentioned or evoked in Anne Rice's novels: Interview with the Vampire, Vampire Lestat, Queen of the Damned, Tale of the Body Thief, Witching Hour, Lasher, and Teltos. So this is a pre-Memnoch edition. Whether you are sitting in a cafe in Jackson Square with a chicory coffee and a beignet, or reading at home, Haunted City will bring you a bit closer to unveiling the mysteries and marvels of New Orleans. Each chapter begins with a discussion of the places most closely related to Rice's works, and then moves to other locales of particular historical significance. Complete with maps, photos, and practical tourist information, Haunted City is a thoroughly researched travel guide. As of 1995. Remember, it's dated. Perfect as either a walking city tour for New Orleans visitors or as an Anne Rice companion for the armchair vampire, Haunted City is sure to please those millions of readers who share Rice's love affair with America's most exotic and intoxicating locale. The Science of Stephen King, the truth behind Pennywise, Jack Torrance, Carrie Cujo, and more iconic characters from the Master of Horror. Interesting. Uncover the theories behind the Master of Horror's macabre tales. Gothic media moguls Meg Hafstall and Kelly Florence, authors of The Science of Monsters and The Science of Women of Horror, and co-hosts of the Horror Rewind podcast, called the best horror film podcast out there by Film Daddy, present a guide to the Stephen King stories and characters we all know and love. Through interviews, literary and film analysis, and bone-chilling discoveries, The Science of Stephen King delves into the uniquely horrific Stephen King universe to uncover the science behind the legendary novels that have become an integral part of modern pop culture, answering such questions as, how does lack of sleep affect the human body like an insomnia? Is it possible for horrific creatures to exist like in Night Shift? What is the science behind curses and legends like in Dreamcatcher and Thinner? Join Kelly and Meg as they learn if we all really do float down there. So the question is, does this talk about his vampire novels? Because that is what I'm interested in. Where's the Salem's Lot chapter? Yep, chapter 3, Salem's Lot. James Warren's Empire of Monsters, the man behind Creepy, Vampirella, and Famous Monsters, a biography by Bill Shelley. So James Warren is the creator of Vampirella and a bunch of other monster-themed properties. It's a biography of the visionary magazine publisher behind Ackerman's periodical, which inspired filmmakers Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Joe Dante, and many more. Warren also published Help, a humor magazine created by Mads Harvey Kurtzman, which featured early work by Gloria Steinem, John Cleese, Terry Gilliam, and Robert Crumb, and horror comics anthology Creepy and Eerie, with painted covers by Frank Frazetta and interior art by Steve Ditko, Wallace Wood, Bernie Wrightson, and others. Vampirella, Warren's most famous co-creation, debuted in her own magazine in 1969 and stars in comics today. It reveals, through outrageous anecdotes, that the publisher who built a vampire empire, according to Rolling Stone, was a man of enormous charm, colossal arrogance, unexpected kindness, and explosive anger, whose company rose to impressive heights before its sudden collapse. Cool. Biography of James Warren, creator of Vampirella. And speaking of Vampirella, we have issue 8 of Vampirella magazine. Of course, it has the comic in here, but also some articles about other related properties that you would reasonably be interested in if you are a Vampirella fan. And, if you notice, there is an advertisement on the back for the World of Darkness fiction contest. You could win $20,000 in prizes. I want to enter the World of Darkness fiction contest. I wonder how old this is, if it's still running. worldofdarkness.com/novel contest. Go, find out. Look how moody she is. The recent issue of Fangoria, Volume 2, number 19, featuring Renfield, a complete full cover spread on Renfield. I loved the Renfield movie. I saw it about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Time has lost all meaning. I saw it recently. You should go see it too. It is a wonderful, amazing movie that I loved. It was tons of fun. It was very gory, very campy, very adorable. The actors were hilarious. I loved it. Nick Cage's Dracula, impeccable dresser. Messy dining companion, burnt out boss. So you know how a lot of vampire stories are focusing on vampires as metaphors for narcissism lately? Because, you know, it's sort of a thing going on in this generation. All of us growing out of our narcissistic parents and that entire influence. So now we're all making vampire art about it. So this one is a very comedic, but very visceral and real and heart-touching take on it, which I really very much enjoyed. And Nicholas Hoult, who plays Renfield, is hilarious. I love him in everything he does. Issue 77 of Screen Magazine, which has a Dracula on the cover. Dracula has risen from the grave, that particular Dracula, along with a few other favorites, old favorites. What's it saying about Dracula? A nice illustrated article by Jonathan Rigby as he revisits Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. One of those fun Hammer horror Dracula spin-offs. Christopher Lee just would not stop. And this year's Centennial specials about Inside the Myths and Mystery of Vampires, the truth about the undead, secrets behind the superstitions, history's most famous bloodsuckers, how Dracula changed everything, plus 25 essential films to sink your fangs into. 25 essential films, you say? Oh, they got Carmilla in here. That's like a full old Vampire Primer 101, baby's first vampire rundown. Page 86. What are the 25 essential films? Have I seen them all? Okay. Underworld, I've seen that. From Dusk Till Dawn, I've seen that. Blackula, seen that. Twilight, I've seen that. I like that Twilight is very low on this list. Fright Night, the 1985 version, seen that. Shadow of the Vampire, 2000, seen that. The Addiction, 1995, that is one I have not seen. I'm missing the essential vampires. Vampire's Kiss, 1980, another Nicolas Cage vampire movie, except it's not really a vampire movie. It's more about, like, psychosis. Though I guess there's imaginary vampires in there, so there's still vampires in the movie. Horror of Dracula, 1958. That was the very first Hammer horror Dracula. They called it Horror of Dracula instead of just Dracula to differentiate it from the American Dracula. Vampires, 1998. That's John Carpenter's Vampires. I have seen that, and we have discussed it on this channel. We have actually discussed several of these on this channel, if you haven't noticed the cards popping up. The Lost Boys, Near Dark, What We Do in the Shadows, The Hunger, and Blade. We have discussed every single one of these movies on this channel. Yes, I feel a very accomplished Maven that I have brought to you breakdowns of all of these top essential vampire movies. Go me. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. I have seen it, but we have not discussed it. Only Lovers Left Alive. Seen it and discussed it. Interview with the Vampire, of course. Why is it number 8? What belongs above? Thirst from 2009, the Korean movie. I have not watched that one yet. Nope. Kronos, 1992. I would not put that above Interview with the Vampire. You're just being a snob at this point. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Okay. The 1979 Nosferatu remake. Okay. Let the Right One In. That is a very good movie. The Swedish film, not the American version, please. Nosferatu, the 1922. Okay, you're just like pandering at this point. You're going to put all the Nosferatus ahead just because they're classic. And Dracula, 1931, of course, I get somewhere. I bet he probably would have made people mad if he didn't put those old films in the number 1 through 5 slots. Seriously? Well, at least Let the Right One In made it up there. That really should have been number 1 if he wasn't pandering, right? Right, yeah. Yeah, I feel a very accomplished Maven. And the ones that are on this list that I haven't talked to you about yet, I probably am going to do within the future because they're all the ones I want to get to anyway. Look, my table's empty. Does that mean we're done? Did you forget whose lair you're in? So this is Dracula, obviously. This is the Lifetime Library edition of Dracula. Very pretty hardcover copy by Sweetwater Press. This is also from Books A Million. It is their classics, public domain, reprinted to get you buy it all over again. And damn it, it works every single time, especially when these editions of Gothic classics come with the whole set of all my favorite ones. I always tell myself I'm not going to buy the complete set of Gothic books because I have them all already. Like I have 4 or 5 sets by now, unless the set includes Phantom of the Opera. And look, they got me. Yeah. So Dracula, Phantom of the Opera, beautiful. My favorite book in the whole world. And I collect editions of Phantom of the Opera. I don't know if you know this about me. I collect editions of Phantom of the Opera. I have several. So every time a new version comes out with a new cover, even though they're all the same book on the inside, sometimes they have like an interesting foreword or introduction or something. This one does not, just purely for the cover. But these were all on the bargain shelf, so I got them for clearance. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Frankenstein. But of course, the reason I bought all these is because Paul gave me Dowry of Blood for Christmas. It was a Christmas gift to me. But my father had also sent me a copy of Dowry of Blood for Christmas. And Paul had bought his copy from Books A Million. So I took it back there and exchanged it. And I got this giant stack of books in exchange for like 1 Dowry of Blood. I mean, they were a little bit more than that at the end. But the full price book for a brand new book from all these on the clearance shelf kind of. Legend of Sleepy Hollow. This is one that I don't often get included in my little collection, so happy to have this one in this time. The Essential Tales of Edgar Allan Poe. And let me just say how happy I am that Edgar Allan Poe got the purple cover, as he should. Purple with the raven. The Picture of Dorian Gray. Also kind of purplish, more of like a fuchsia. Beautiful. And last, but absolutely not least, my second favorite book in the world, Wuthering Heights. Even though this doesn't technically have anything supernatural, I always include it in my Gothic collection because, you know, it has a ghost. The ghost may just be a dream, but there may actually be a ghost. So yes, it does count as Gothic. And if I were to expand this collection, I might also include Sherlock Holmes, Jane Eyre, you know, other Brontes, other Gaslight era spooky novels, even if they're not necessarily speculative, they count. But I think I had enough at this point. So this was the set I kept with going on my Gothic bookshelf. Yes, I do have one bookshelf that is just for Gothic book collections. It's getting kind of full. Might need a new one. But speaking of Gothic novels, you sent me some of those too. These are not vampire books. At least I don't think most of them are. But they are spooky, dark, Gothic in some way that I think you will enjoy because I enjoy them, so I'm going to share them with you anyway. So we got 2 more copies of Dorian Gray with nifty covers. This one especially is very cool. It's got an original illustration. It's kind of like a fake leather. Love it. Silvered edges. Love gilt edge. Beautiful. This is the Intervisual Books Classics edition. Some pretty end papers. This one looks more like a print-on-demand, self-published, someone just printed their own version of Dorian Gray. It has kind of like a copy-paste cover. It's that like soft, fuzzy version that, you know, not Amazon, but the other print-on-demand, Ingram, likes to print. Yep, just the absolute basic text, free public domain text of Dorian Gray in a new cover version. With so many other Gothic novels to go along with it. Speaking of Sherlock Holmes, we have Hound of the Baskervilles in a very adorable little book. It's got gilt edges. It came wrapped in shrink wrap. I love it when a book needs to be shrink wrapped. Gold shiny cover. It's cute. I love a small book. So Hound of the Baskervilles is probably Sherlock Holmes' most Gothic of his books. IMHO. A lot of times when Sherlock Holmes is included in the Gothic collections, this is not the one they include. They'll include like a collection of the stories, which obviously this is the one to include. The hound does not wind up being an actual demon hound. There is a scientific explanation for it, but it is very atmospheric in the Gothic way, and that is the most important part. Love this story. If you have not read any Sherlock Holmes, I would recommend Hound of the Baskervilles as a place to start. H.P. Lovecraft, Gothic Tales. If you recall, I have a couple other editions. I have Frankenstein in this tiny little edition, so now I have the adorable H.P. Lovecraft tiny edition to go through. This is very small for H.P. Lovecraft, so it's only a couple stories in here. Which stories are in here? Gothic Tales has to be... Okay, we got 3 stories. The Outsider, The Music of Eric Zahn, and The Terrible Old Man. 3 classics. So cute! 3 Gothic novels in a Penguin English Library edition. This is a used book, very well loved, but it has a very important novel that a lot of people don't include in their Gothic collections. It is The Castle of Otranto by Walpole, which is considered the very first Gothic novel. It is Gothic much more in the medieval sense. We're talking like Flying Buttresses style Gothic, and it's set in a castle that there's like a giant and it's haunted and it's creepy, and it's not Victorian Gothic at all, but it is considered the very first Gothic novel, so it's one of those things that you have to read to get under your belt. Also in here is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, of course, and Vathek by Beckford, which I know nothing about, so I'm excited to read that one. I know absolutely nothing about that one. What is that? It's an Oriental tale by eccentric millionaire, exotically combines Gothic romanticism with the vivacity of the Arabian Nights as a narrative tour de force. Okay, it is from 1786, which is not that long after Castle of Otranto, which was 1765. And I love this painting. This is the nightmare. So you have the person sleeping and the sleep paralysis demon on her chest, and then the nightmare, which is an actual horse in the background here. Classic painting, love it. The Woman in Black by M.Y. Halidom, which I have never read. There was a movie edition that came out not long ago, which you may have heard of. This is the Rediscovered Classics edition, which is basically takes a public domain text and reprints it. However, this book was first published in 1913 and reflects the attitudes of its time. Accordingly, editorial changes have been made to remove certain instances of prejudicial language. But for the most part, this classic work is reproduced as originally published. So they took out some of the racism. Interesting. I don't know if I like that, or... I mean, I'm glad this edition exists, but I don't know if that I want that to be my first introduction to it. I don't know. Is it better to read it in its original form or better to read the cleaned up, censored version? Like, this would be the edition that I would give to a young person nowadays. As an old person, how old am I? Well, it's my birthday. Ancient as the grave. in a good way. But what is The Woman in Black? One of those classic Gothic stories you hear the title of, but what even is it really about? Is it a vampire? It's kind of vampire-ish, but doesn't technically count as a vampire. During a trip to a nearby village, the proudly unmarried Sir Ashley Carruthers attends an evening service in a small local church. There he finds himself seated next to an alluring and hypnotically beautiful woman in black, and is instantly enraptured. But when the vicar collapses mid-sermon after looking upon the woman's face, Carruthers is left to wonder, who is this mysterious woman? And should he be worried about her pointed ears, her pointed teeth, and her ability to vanish into thin air? I mean, I don't know. I'd be a little concerned. Featuring a bewitching and depraved anti-heroine who leaves a pile of bloody bodies in her wake, The Woman in Black is the not-quite-living embodiment of every Victorian man's worst nightmare. Hot. Yes, it's definitely one of those books I've been meaning to read for a long time, so happy to have this very pretty bloody hand cover. It's a gorgeous cover. Some Edgar Allan Poe inspired books. We love Poe. Poe, my muse. So this is The Poet by Michael Connelly, with an introduction by Stephen King. This book is from 1996, but I have never read it. Death is reporter Jack McEvoy's beat, his calling, his obsession. But this time, death brings McEvoy the story he never wanted to write, and the mystery he desperately needs to solve. A serial killer of unprecedented savagery and cunning is at large. His targets, homicide cops, each haunted by a murder case he couldn't crack. The killer's calling card, a quotation from the works of Edgar Allan Poe. His latest victim is McEvoy's own brother, and his last, maybe McEvoy himself. I don't know if Jack McEvoy is an ongoing detective from a series of detective novels, but this is the one that incorporates Edgar Allan Poe. The killer is inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. A Mystery of Mysteries, The Death and Life of Edgar Allan Poe by Mark Dawidziak. A biography. I wonder how true it is. I did a video for PBS It's Lit on the life of Edgar Allan Poe that was inspired by a biography that debunks many of the myths that were perpetuated by Poe's haters back in the day. And that is on YouTube if you want to watch it. I'm very proud of writing that video. I'm not in that video, but I wrote it. You can watch it. Just look up PBS Edgar Allan Poe, Lindsay Ellis, and you will find it. But what is this biography? This one is brand new. Just came out in 2023. So I am very interested to see what the 2023 take on Edgar Allan Poe is now that we have uncovered so many things that people have gotten wrong for so long about this poor guy. I mean, yes, Poe was a dick, but very maligned. A brilliant biography of Edgar Allan Poe that examines the renowned author's life through the prism of his mysterious death and its many possible causes. The most common cause that people think is really why he died would be a brain tumor or brain aneurysm, something in his brain, a stroke sort of situation. It is a moment shrouded in horror and mystery. Edgar Allan Poe died on October 7th, 1849 at just 40 in a painful, utterly bizarre manner that would not have been out of place in one of his own tales of terror. What was the cause of his untimely death, and what happened to him during the 3 missing days before he was found? Delirious and in great distress on the streets of Baltimore, wearing ill-fitting clothes that were not his own. Mystery and horror. Poe, who remains one of the most iconic of American writers, died under haunting circumstances that reflect the 2 literary genres he took to new heights. Yes, he is considered the father of the murder mystery. The way that a mystery is formatted where the crime is up front, you see the dead body and then you have to figure out how the body died. He invented that. Before that, all stories were about the process up until the end. They never started at the end and then had to figure it out. He invented that whole genre of fiction. Over the years, there have been a staggering amount of speculation about the cause of his death, from rabies and syphilis to suicide, alcoholism, and even murder. But many of these theories are formed on the basis of the caricature we have come to associate with Poe, the gloomy-eyed grandfather of Goth, hunched over a writing desk with a raven perched on one shoulder, drunkenly scribbling in his chilling masterpieces. By debunking the myths of how he lived, we come closer to understanding the real Poe. Poe was not a Goth. He was just poor and had a hard life. He actually wrote a lot more comedies and social satires than he ever wrote horror. The horror stories that he's most famous for is his least category of the stuff he wrote. He wrote so much more that nothing got associated with it. And there's reasons why we remember him that way, because his haters wanted you to remember him that way because they thought that was uncool. They didn't realize they were setting him up to become an icon. Ha! Joke's on them. We love a goth king. A new theory emerges that could prove the cause of Poe's death was haunting him all his life. In a compelling dual timeline narrative, altering between Poe's increasingly desperate last months and his brief but impactful life, this book sheds new light on the enigmatic master of macabre. Cool. This author also did The Bathtub and Armchair Companion to Dracula. Neat. This book just came out last year, 2022. A fluid Technicolor reimagining of Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher that takes no prisoners, not to be missed. So it is a retelling of Poe's Fall of the House of Usher. When Alex Easton, a retired soldier, receives word that their childhood friend Madeline Usher is dying, they race to the ancestral home of the Ushers in the remote countryside of Ruritania. What they find there is a nightmare of fungal growths and possessed wildlife surrounding a dark, pulsing lake. Ooh, it sounds like they're making it kind of Lovecraftian. Madeline sleepwalks and speaks in strange voices at night, and her brother Roderick is consumed by a mysterious malady of the nerves. Aided by a redoubtable British mycologist and a baffled American doctor, Alex must unravel the secret of the House of Usher before it consumes them all. Thoroughly creepy and utterly enjoyable, says Publishers Weekly. It is also a small, cute book. I don't know. I'm always a sucker for a book that's like little or cute or has like pretty end papers. This has, black pages inside. I'm such a sucker for a gimmick. We got like a creepy rabbit on the end papers. Give it to me. A Gothic delight. Now we have some Phantom of the Opera inspired books, because we're just going through the whole Gothic gamut this time. This is a copy of Phantom of the Opera, the Signet Classics copy. Someone sent it to me, not for any particular reason. They just sent it to me. Thank you. It was included with some of the other books that got sent to me, so I got this along with it. This is the basic public domain text edition of Phantom of the Opera. It is the, sort of, not abridged, but truncated version of the translated text. It is not the best translation you can get, but it does have an introduction by Max Bird. Love a good introduction in my Phantom of the Opera novels. I have not read this introduction before. So cool. Thank you. Phantom of the Opera graphic novel by Becky Laff. This was a Kickstarter project. You can find Becky Laff's Phantom artwork online for free, but she kickstarted publishing it in this gorgeous, glossy graphic novel, and it's huge. Just look at this art. It's so pretty. And it says it is book 1, so I think that means more are coming. So pretty. I'm so happy to have this. It's all black and white illustrations, except it uses red as an accent color for like the Phantom's creepiness. Perfect. It says, spread the word. Make a post and tag me at phantomoftheopera.graphicnovel and use the hashtag #phantomgraphicnovel. You can do that. These are a couple new Phantom spin-off books that have come out recently, which really should be in my Phantom collection videos, but because we're on like the Gothic kick and it's my birthday, I'm going to tell you about them anyway. This is Midnight Duet by Jen Comfort, which I think Kirkus reviews called Charmingly Bonkers. Made me very excited to read it. A rising star falls from grace and finds love in the shadows. Self-professed diva Erica Green has it all. A starring role on Broadway, legions of fans, spectacular natural talent. But after an accident on stage leaves her face scarred and her career in shambles, Erica retreats to Paris, Nevada, where she's inherited a ramshackle opera house in desperate need of some TLC. Erica pours her savings into the building, but it's not enough to stave off casino developer Raoul Decomps of Acherus Gaze. With foreclosure imminent, she leases the space to some unexpected tenants, a German hair metal band fronted by glam rock god Christoph Daye. Erica is tempted by Christoph's low-slung leather pants, and even more so by his ambitious drive to make Nox Music's international superstars. But he's off limits. The rest of his band still thinks he's dating their beloved keyboardist, who is conveniently not present on this jaunt to the American Southwest. When Erica finds out Christoph's been unceremoniously dumped and is trying to keep it under wraps, she makes a deal to keep his secret. For a price, of course. Christoph is desperate to hold the rest of the band together after his keyboardist's departure, but he can't maintain the charade forever, nor can he resist the opera house's mysterious proprietor, who tempts him with midnight singing lessons. It isn't long before sensuous nighttime interludes turn into smoldering backstage encounters. But can their newly ignited passion survive the searing light of day? Or will their beautiful duet turn into a broken-hearted power ballad for one? So a gender-swapped, modernized Phantom of the Opera retelling. charmingly bonkers. I'm so excited to read this. Nocturne by Elisa Weiss. In this haunting lyrical fantasy set in 1930 Chicago, a talented ballerina finds herself torn between her dreams and her desires when she's pursued by a secretive patron who may be more than he seems. Aren't they always? Growing up in Chicago's Little Sicily for the years following the Great War, Grace Dargata has always wanted to be a ballerina, ever since she first peered through the windows of the Near North Ballet Company. So, when Grace is orphaned, she chooses the ballet as her home, imagining herself forever ensconced in a transcendent world of light and beauty so different from her poor immigrant upbringing. Years later, with the Great Depression in full swing, Grace has become the company's new prima ballerina, though achieving her long-held dream is not the triumph she once envisioned. Time and familiarity have tarnished that shining vision, and her new position means the loss of her best friend in the world. Then she attracts the attention of the enigmatic Master La Rosa as her personal patron, and realizes the world is not as small or constricted as she had come to fear. Who is her mysterious patron, and what does he want from her? As Grace begins to unlock the Master's secrets, she discovers that there is beauty in darkness as well as light, finds that true friendship cannot be broken by time or distance, and realizes there may be another way entirely to achieve the transcendence she has always sought. So even though it doesn't say anything in the summary, this is a speculative book. It does have magic in it. All the blurbs on the back talk about magic. A lush gothic romance that will dance you dizzy. In Nocturne, Elisa Weiss robes the classic story of Beauty and the Beast in lush prose and infinite splendor, and it's a fever dream of a novel, surreal and intricate and enchanting. Not Beauty and the Beast. This is Phantom of the Opera. Come on, they're in a theater. And I don't think anyone here is a beast. Darkly beautiful and threaded through with an undercurrent of magic and madness, Nocturne is a captivating tale replete with layers of illusion, where true enchantment hides beneath the manufactured witchery and gossamer splendor of the ballet. So is there actual enchantment and magic? Is this a speculative novel? It says it's a fantasy. It says it's fantasy fiction, so yeah, there's got to be something speculative about it. A true Gothic classic, The Monk by Matthew Lewis. This is one of those, the original Gothics that you have to read if, I haven't read it. It's one of those ones I need to read. Yeah. When Matthew Lewis's The Monk was published in 1796, readers were shocked by this gripping and horrific novel. Lewis's story, which drove the House of Commons, of which he was a member, to deem him licentious and perverse, follows the abbot Ambrosio as he is tempted into a world of incest, murder, and torture by a young girl who has concealed herself in his monastery disguised as a boy. Ooh, yeah. Those are all the Gothic tropes right there. As Ambrosio spirals into hell, the reader encounters an array of haunting characters. The innocent virgin, the bleeding nun, the wandering Jew, an evil prioress, and Lucifer himself. Yep, you got your classic Gothic cast of characters right there. One of those books I've been meaning to read for decades now because I am ancient as the sands of time. In a good way, The Monk. Now I have a copy and I have no excuse. And this is a really pretty copy. Thank you. Thank you for sending this to me. A pretty copy of Great Expectations, which was sent to me, so I'm including it here. Dickens isn't the most Gothic of authors, but he's in that family. His books do always have a darkness to them. I wouldn't call them Gothic novels, but they are of the era. So if you want like a good basis in that like Victorian gas lamp era, Dickens is good to read. Great Expectations is a good one. Also, if you are a fan of Anne Rice like I am, the two authors that inspired her the most were Shakespeare and Dickens, so you got to read them both so you can understand her mind, so you can like get more into the vampires. Dickens is the kind of author that vampires love to read, so you should too. Speaking of Anne Rice, this is a copy of Violin, which a friend of mine was moving and getting rid of a bunch of books that she didn't need anymore. So I got this copy. I have a copy of Violin in paperback. I never had this like big old fancy deckled-edged hardback copy. And I love Anne Rice's author bio picture on the back. Can you see her? She's wearing like a giant feather thing and she's like clinging to a gate. So cool. So Anne. Violin is not about vampires. It's about ghosts and historical ghosts. There is a ghost who plays the violin, who is haunting the main character, and then he takes her on like a magical journey through history, and she goes back in time to the era of Beethoven and Paganini, and she meets some like real historical figures. It is the most autobiographical of Anne Rice's books, so if you are interested in Anne Rice and how her mind worked, and what made her who she is, and what kind of motivations went into her writing, and the choices she made in her writing, this is the best book you can read to understand her that way. Highly recommended. but it's not easy. This is a hard book to read. It is dark, it is sad, it is ugly, but it's worth it. This book was sent to me by the author, Mark Sutter, Doc Ronin Adventures, A Cleansing Fire. It's Noble Monster Comics, but I don't think it has any vampires. If it does, I'm sorry. I tried looking through it and I didn't see any vampires, so that's why I'm including it in this section of the video. But it does have monsters. He arises out of nowhere, his former self discarded, bolstered to godlike proportions by savage extraterrestrial technology. He calls himself simply the Enemy, and he brings with him apocalypse. Unfortunately, scientist adventurer Doc Ronin, the world's best chance for defeating the Enemy, has, broken by loss, long ago forsaken the world. Only by coaxing Doc out of his isolation, his self-imposed exile, can Earth survive. Full color, graphic novel, beautiful, thank you. And one thing that I thought was really cool was that it's dedicated to Natalie Wynn, ContraPoints, another fellow YouTuber who I've known for a while. Cool. I love seeing people I know get mentioned in books. Thank you for sending this to me. Looking forward to it. Copy of The Elementals by Michael McDowell, and this book is from 1981, and this is a reprint edition from 2014. Poppy Z. Bright says, surely one of the most terrifying novels ever written, and you know, if Poppy knows, that's how it is. Doesn't have any vampires, but it does have ghosts, I think. The Elementals, it's a haunted house story, so I don't know if the Elementals are actually ghosts or some kind of other beings. And this is written by the guy who wrote the screenplay for Tim Burton's Beetlejuice and The Nightmare Before Christmas. Did you know he wrote books? I didn't. I've never read any of his books. After a bizarre and disturbing incident at the funeral of matriarch Marion Savage, the McCrae and Savage families look forward to a restful and relaxing summer at Bedlam on Alabama's Gulf Coast, where 3 Victorian houses rise above the shimmering beach. 2 of the houses are habitable, while the third is slowly and mysteriously being buried beneath an enormous dune of blindingly white sand. But though long uninhabited, the third house is not empty. Inside, something deadly lies in wait, something that has terrified Dauphin Savage and Lurker McCrae since they were boys, and which still haunts their nightmares. Something horrific that may be responsible for several terrible and unexplained deaths years earlier, and is now ready to kill again. I don't know. Could be a vampire. I feel like if it was a vampire, though, I would have heard of this book before, which I have not. So it must be something else that's creepy. Some kind of demon or something. An elemental. A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett Sinclair. This is a Hades and Persephone novel, which you know I'm all about Hades and Persephone. My favorite Greek couple. And I love Hades Persephone modernized retellings. This one came out in 2019. And a sequel to it, I think there's 2 sequels to it out already, have come out since, 1 or 2. So it's still ongoing series. Persephone is the goddess of spring in title only. Since she was a little girl, flowers have only shriveled at her touch. After moving to New Athens, she hoped to lead an unassuming life disguised as a mortal journalist. All of that changes when she sits down in a forbidden nightclub to play a hand of cards with a hypnotic and mysterious stranger. Hades, god of the dead, has built a gambling empire in the mortal world, and his favorite bets are rumored to be impossible. But nothing has ever intrigued him as much as the goddess offering him a bargain he can't resist. After her encounter with Hades, Persephone finds herself in a contract with the god of the dead, and his terms are impossible. Persephone must create life in the underworld or lose her freedom forever. Wow, she really must have played cards badly. The bet does more than expose Persephone's failure as a goddess, however. As she struggles to sow the seeds of her freedom, love for the god of dead grows. Love that is both captivating and forbidden. And considering that this book has sequels, I am guessing that that romance continues. At first I thought this was a young adult novel, just because they usually are, but it doesn't actually sound like one at all. Very cool. You know, you don't often get adulty stories that are Greek god retellings. Usually those go to teenagers. Sadly, not that there's anything wrong with books for teenagers. I love them. I read them all the time, but I like variety also. Collected 3 volumes of Lock and Key, the graphic novel by Joe Hill, better known as Stephen King's son. Changed his name so he wouldn't be known that way, but joke's on him. Looks like, you know, ghosts and stuff. I don't know anything about Lock and Key. I think they made a TV show out of it. Lock and Key tells of Key House, an unlikely New England mansion with fantastic doors that transform all who dare to walk through them, and home to a hate-filled and relentless creature that will not rest until it forces open the most terrible door of all. An all-new story of dark fantasy and wonder. Lock and Key. Lock spelled L-O-C-K-E. Cool. Dark fantasy and wonder. Love it. Love graphic novels. And I have all three. Thank you. Now this is so cool. This is the world of Charles Addams, who is the cartoonist who made the Addams Family, the original Addams Family from the 1930s. Did you know the Addams Family was that old, the 1930s? These aren't all Addams Family comics. It's just like all of Charles Addams comics, which are always kind of dark and spooky because, you know, proto-goth. Some of them are a little bit racist, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But this looks like a huge compilation of maybe all of it. This is big. It's like a giant coffee table book. I don't know if it's all of it, but it certainly is a lot of it. A retrospective celebration of the ominous, lovable, dark, and infinitely hilarious art of one of America's greatest cartoonists. A lavish projection of the world he created, a world of agreeably murderous spouses, devilishly precocious children, bright-eyed witches, spooky laboratories, crypts, and tunnels, and of the super-Victorian house we now call by his name, and its inhabitants, that surreal all-American clan, beloved by all America, the Addams Family. With an introduction by Wilfred Sheed. So it doesn't say if it's everything, but it sure is a lot of it. Ooh, even the colored comics. Beautiful. I love Charles Addams. Thank you. This book is gorgeous. These are some things that I bought for myself because they were pretty cheap. I actually bought them I got some money for Christmas and they were my Christmas gift to myself. These are scrapbooking tools. I don't know if you know this about me, but I do paper crafts. So these are vintage journal pages, vampire pages and ephemera. So it's just a bunch of like artsy, beautiful paper and pages and like things that you can cut out to put in your scrapbooks. You can use them as pages if you want to make a journal. Cool stuff. This one is a very good copy. I'm very pleased with this copy. This one is by Operation Reprint, OR. I recommend this one. This vintage Halloween ephemera collection by Create It Studio is also pretty good. It's got good print quality, but I don't like the white backgrounds. It's going to be hard to use as well in scrapbooking. You're going to have to cut really close to things, and they aren't perforated or anything. You just kind of have to cut them out and figure it out. Good luck to you. Hope you have steady hands. Ghostly Gothic Junk Journal Ephemera. This is also by OR. So this has the same kind of quality. This one's pretty good too. Love it. These are all like $7 each if you do crafting or journaling. It's very shiny paper, so it's not the kind that you could really write on. So they aren't the kind of pages that you can make a journal that you write on, but journal that you kind of like stick things into. Good stuff. Scrapbooking. The Halloween Ephemera Collection by Operation Reprint. So this one I like better. See, it has nice colored backgrounds, and these are the little tags and things that you can cut out and sort of stick all over your journals. I don't know if you know this about me, but I love junk journals. I have some Gothic junk journals that I bought. I haven't made one yet. I've always wanted to make one. I have some. I should show them to you next time. They are gorgeous, and the artist who made them is brilliant. Gothic Junk Journal Pages, also by Operation Reprint. I basically bought everything they did that was Gothic. They do non-Gothic things too, but these are pages that you just cut out and then you make out to be your journal, and these are the pages of your journal. And then this one, a vintage book lover ephemera. This one I did not like the quality of. This one is by Kitty Rose. If you see this, don't buy it. The pictures are good, but the print quality is very poor. It's like I could print these out on my printer better. I guess the fact that they found these pictures and they exist is nice, but not worth the $7 or whatever I spent on this. Poor print quality. Boo. But this is a pack of stickers, 300 pieces of vintage stickers. I love stickers. Look, there's like mushrooms and hedgehogs and animals and spooky clocks and keys and all kinds of things. If you like that sort of like vintage ephemera sticker stuff, this is a really cool pack I found online by Enurza. And this is a Stitchcraft book, an embroidery book of simple stitches and peculiar patterns. Stitchcraft, like witchcraft, right? So the Stitchcrafts in here that you can do, which I don't know if you know this, but I do needle crafts. This is like a octopus anatomy thing, study of a squid. So just embroidery patterns for making, this one is like a human body. There's an anatomical heart that's also flowers and butterflies. Another anatomical heart that's a forest. Skeleton in a pretty dress. Sorry, it's so reflecty. Ouija board thingy. What's a thingy for a Ouija board card? I know this word. Hands. Two-headed skeleton. Patterns for doing embroidery. I don't do much freehand embroidery, so this is going to be a real challenge for me. Usually I do like cross-stitch and stuff, but I'm excited and it's spooky. Speaking of stuff that's not books, I have this Lore Olympus tote bag. Thank you for sending this to me. I love it. I love Lore Olympus, one of my favorite webtoons, and the author is an amazing person. Follow her on Twitter. She's great. Tote bag for putting all my books in. Hades and Persephone. Beautiful. Phantom of the Opera tote bag, which, I don't know if you can see, it has a picture of the chandelier on it, which I got at the closing production of Phantom of the Opera, which is now closed on Broadway. Sadness. Pour one out for Phantom. It is gone after 35 years of existing on Broadway. Phantom of the Opera is gone. If you didn't see it, you missed your chance. I went to go see the closing weekend with Lindsay Ellis and Nella and Angie from Musical Spleen. That whole group of friends were all there, being very sad. And we saw it, and I wanted to buy all the merchandise that they had. You know, it's my last chance, right? I'm just going to put on a credit card and buy it. But there was none left. They had like one t-shirt, which I got, which I wore in our last book club video. You can see my t-shirt there. And this bag and a souvenir program, which is, you know, they just... the regular program you buy at Broadway shows. But this is a new souvenir program that's not like any souvenir program I ever had from Phantom before. So I'm glad I got this edition. Very pretty. I'm just sad. Phantom is gone. It's really gone. Oh, I got the cup. If you buy a drink from the bar, that you get a cup logo. And I got a rum and Diet Coke in this cup. And that's probably why I cried as much as I did. Blame it on the rum. I'm so sad. I wept. Phantom is gone. I mean, it'll come back. Of course it's going to come back. But it's going to be different. It's not going to come back the same. They never come back the same. You can't get a Tony for Best Revival until you close the original, right? Marketing. But really, it was such a big, expensive show. And with the way inflation is happening, they couldn't afford it as it existed. So they had to close it and come up with a more budget-friendly, economical version of the show, which that's going to be great whenever that revival hits. See how it goes. Be like that version of Sweeney Todd where all the characters are playing their own instruments. Eric just walking around with like an organ on a chest strap playing constantly. Oh, the one other thing I did get was this refrigerator magnet. Phantom of the Opera, 35 years refrigerator magnet. Pour one out for Phantom. Sadness. I have these bookmarks, these adorable literary monster page clip bookmarks. We have Dracula, the Mummy, the Werewolf, and the Frankenstein. They're called literary monsters, but the Mummy and Werewolf are cinematic monsters. They're not literary monsters. I would have put different monsters on here. But Dracula is adorable. These are very adorable magnetic bookmarks. Love them. My father sent me these for Christmas, but I forgot to show them to you last time. Showing them to you this time. He sent me two. I think, because it's got Dracula on one side and Frankenstein on the other. I think he thought one was each, so he's getting me both monsters. But so, Frankenstein, Mary Shelley, 1818. Dracula, Bram Stoker, 1897. I guess they're Christmas ornaments. Yeah, they're pretty. They're metal. Fall on my Christmas tree next year. What else do I got here? So much stuff. Oh! So, Paul took my fledgling spawn to the store and told him to pick something for me to buy for Christmas. And I forgot to show this to you at Christmas too. I know it's May. It's my birthday. I'm showing you Christmas things. But this is a goth Christmas tree that my 8-year-old fledgling spawn chose for me. It's got a skull on top. It's very cute. It's a squishable. And it's just a very sad goth Christmas tree. She's got a chain. She's got teeth. I love that my fledgling spawn knows me so well. This is a Buffy the Vampire Slayer tarot deck and guidebook. So Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I like the artwork. It's a very different style of artwork for Buffy that I haven't seen before. But there's the guidebook. It has a ribbon. It's got skulls on it. Read your tarot. Look who's the fool. I'm assuming that's Xander. Xander is the fool. All your favorite Buffy characters. Neat. Oh, the sun is Buffy and Spike communing. Oh, these are so pretty. I don't really know how to do tarot. I've never taroted myself, so I got a guidebook. I guess I could learn. Could really just figure it out. Start taroting. I got 2 tarot decks now. I have this and the House of Night deck. Sent to me by the same person. Thank you. Love the purple box. A CD of the Love Never Dies soundtrack from the Broadway musical. Well, no, it never even made it to Broadway. From the musical that existed, there were a couple of versions. I don't know which version the CD is of, the revised or not. But we were talking online in Discord in our book club and live stream, one of those places, And I mentioned that I didn't have Love Never Dies soundtrack for my Phantom collection. I didn't actually own the music for it. And someone was like, you really want it? I was like, well, yeah, I gotta have it. So they're like, okay, I'll send it to you. And then they sent it to me. This copy. Thank you. Now I have it. But you know, it's the original cast. Raymond Caramelou and Sierra Burgess, etc., etc. Love Never Dies in my Phantom collection. Aren't we happy? I actually do like some of the songs from Love Never Dies. This is a story I don't like, but the music, there are some of the musics I don't like. I do like. For instance, The Beauty Underneath is one of my favorite songs in the history of musical theater. I know a lot of people find it creepy and weird and like icky, but that's why I like it. That's a feature, not a bug. I love how creepy it is. It's very gothic. So this is a bag of stuff that I got at the Vampire Ball in New Orleans when I went for Halloween, which I meant to show you in my last video and I completely forgot. There was a couple different events I went to hosted by different Anne Rice related fan club things, and they all had like swag and goodie bags. So the main Anne Rice Vampire Ball, this was the dance card sort of program they had. It came with a little pencil and you could fill out your dance card and just, you know, told you what all the acts were. And I just thought this was so pretty. You can keep this forever. You could wear it on your wrist and be like a fancy person. It was the Reign of Osiris Ball. They haven't announced the theme yet for this year's Vampire Ball coming up very soon. They're going to announce it. But they've been hinting at it, and the hints strongly lead towards Mayfair Witches. So I'm guessing it's going to be a Mayfair Witch themed ball. So they did Anne Rice's Mummy books last year. They'll do Anne Rice's Witch books this year, which neither of those are vampire books as themes for the Vampire Ball. So we're getting some variety. So one of the goodie bag things they gave me is a Claudia Drained Your Honor Student. VampireListNet.com. That's the fan club. So if you're interested in the fan club, you can go there. Put this bumper sticker on your car. Claudia Drained Your Honor Student. Eat that. I've mixed up the swag from the events I went to, so some of these aren't in order because I went to a couple different events. The other one was the Dark Gift Alliance Resurrection had an event that included a memorial service for Anne Rice. It was very sweet and touching. A midnight memorial service, and I have some things from that. For instance, I don't have it in here, but this is a shot glass that I guess we used as a candle holder, and there was like a little electronic candle that we had in there that we held up during the memorial service. And then they had us write something on a piece of paper that we felt about Anne, something that meant something to us about Anne, and then we put those thoughts, those wishes into a bowl of water, and it was dissolvable paper. So they stirred up all the papers, all the wishes. They all dissolved into the water, and then they took that water and poured it on Anne Rice's grave the next day. That was really sweet. So all of our thoughts went there. And then they had us reach into a bowl of charms and pull out a charm. And I pulled out a bat charm, which is very, very beautiful. I was very happy to get that, which I don't have here. I'm sorry, I can't show it to you. So much goodies. This is a sticker, the Anne Rice Ball, vampireball.org. So much swag. Sad card, this art of Louis and Lestat at Anne Rice's grave. An enamel pin of that same art. It's kind of hard to see, but it is that same Louis and Lestat at Anne Rice's grave enamel pin. If I put it closer to camera, it won't even be in focus, so I can't even do that. Imagine it, it's beautiful. An enamel pin of the crying eye, the blood tear. It's been since well, I guess November when I came over from the ball because it was on Halloween. I still haven't even opened this. Oh, this is stuff from Boutique de Vampire, which we have discussed before. Boutique de Vampire sent me one of their mystery boxes, and I opened it here for you to share you all their stuff. And so we got some goodies from them. Koozie, Boutique de Vampire, feelthebite.com. Some coasters. These are temporary tattoos of a vampire bite that you can put on your neck. Temporary vampire bite tattoo. And a button. Every time I do these, I realize, oh, there was more stuff that I was going to bring to show you, but I forgot it. So now you're going to be seeing springtime stuff next time we do this video in like 4 more months. This beautiful little coffin box. Isn't that a cute gift box? Lindsay gave this to me for my birthday present. She put my birthday present in here, which wasn't gothy, so I'm not going to show it to you. It was some jewelry. But also, she included in here cute little things. This is the Smashbox Dracula Masters of Horror eyeshadow, which is actually a pure black matte eyeshadow. Which I don't know when I would wear pure black matte eyeshadow. It says it's to help you create Dracula's look, but as you can see from the picture on here, Dracula doesn't have any pure black matte on him. But you know, you could do things with it. Just the fact that it has Dracula's face on it. And some charms. We got some rose charms. skull charms, skull and crossbones, all the sorts of things you would want in a coffin-shaped box. Yes, I can put all these things in my coffin-shaped box. You see? Useful, not just for gifts. So yes, I have a birthday. I am filming this video before my birthday. You are probably watching it either on my birthday or after my birthday. So, you know, with birthdays come a time of depression, reflection, of, you know, thinking about what's to come in life and where you've been. And I know what's to come for me. More vampire books. Join the Vampire Book Club. If you want to read the vampire books with me, we read one book a month. You can join it on my Discord. The link is in the description of this video. If you want to support these videos or the Vampire Book Club or the Vampire Discord, join my Patreon. That is the only source of support I get because YouTube does not like me and the algorithm is not my friend. So if you would like to support this channel, join my Patreon. The link is in the description. You can join at any level you like, but if you join at $10 or more per video, you get your name in the credits of these videos, which I hope you enjoy. I am impressed at how many of these vampire books are new. New vampire books coming out since the last few years. Isn't that exciting? We are in a new vampire boom, a new surge of vampire literature, and these vampire books are taking themselves seriously. They're like, well, this vampire book is especially literary. Look how literary it is. Take us seriously. Yep, okay, I will. I also like the trashy or fun vampire books just as much, but I am here for it all, and I'm very glad we're in a new boom of vampire novels, and I can't wait to read them all with you in Vampire Book Club. If there are vampire books that you think I should know about or you want to hear my opinion about, leave a comment. Let me know who the author is and the book title, and I will look them up. I will add them to my wish list. If you have a vampire book you would like to send me, the P.O. Box address for where I can receive mail is also in the description of this video. A lot of times people will send me their old books they're getting rid of or books that they find used. Please don't spend money on me that you don't have to spend. But if you don't want to send me the book itself, send me the name, send me the title, the comments, help the algorithm. Also, ask me questions in the comments because then I can answer your questions, and apparently the algorithm really likes that. We want to get lots of people watching these videos so that they can see the wonder of all these vampire books and start reading them with us, right? Spread the word. Spread the vampire gospel. Have you heard of our Lord and Savior Dracula today?